Starting the video, 3, 2, 1. New month, new tier list. Let's get started. So as before, we're doing rankings a la Harry Potter. Outstanding means this book, I'm going to reread it over and over. Exceeds expectations, still pretty good. Acceptable means I might not go back for a reread, but all in all, I enjoyed this book. Poor, self-explanatory, dreadful, self-explanatory. Troll is, are you being serious? Like you actually published this. As always, some of these were sent to me as a free copy in exchange for an honest review on Goodreads. If that's the case, I just let you know down below. Starting off right away with Red, White, and Royal Blue. This is a fictionalized romance set in somewhat modern era. We have the first son of the United States, we have the cutest prince of England, and the two of them kick it off, enemies to lovers style. Right off the bat, it was outstanding. Every little moment had me just overwhelmed in joy. I could not put this one down. The audiobook narration was perfect. The way the two characters played off each other, stunning. Animal Kind is by a fellow YouTuber. You may know her as Mzadik. And Mzadik wrote this series of short stories about humans and the animals that come into their lives. They were extremely well written, and I was really appreciative of how Mzadik took such complicated issues that the humans were experiencing and condensed it and had so much emotion over such short pages. I was tearing up like crazy. These animals were wonderful. This book in general, outstanding. So next we have George Washington. This is the series I've been kind of reading. It's biography books for beginners, so it's aimed towards the middle grade students. They're illustrated, they give you a very basic background. This one, I would say this one's acceptable. It was interesting, but it didn't really have too much new for me. So like it was very much kind of felt like I was rehashing things that I've learned many times. I guess that's kind of what happens when you hit a biography of someone that famous, but it was still good. Harriet Tubman, this one really well done. This is the same series as the George Washington one, but this one had an extra sparkle. It had this sparkle that really bumped it up to exceeds expectations, and I ended up really enjoying this one. I loved learning about Harriet's early life and having a different perspective. Thought it was very well done, exceeds expectations. The Mother Code, whew, it's got some interesting parallels between like what's happening outside right now. There's a pandemic, almost guaranteed death rate, and humans are scrambling to try and either find a cure for it or find a way for humans in the future to survive. And one of the things that they came up with are the mothers. And the mothers are these kind of like robots, but like AI, and they're set to raise genetically altered children that can survive this pandemic. And along the way, these mothers develop a spark of life. So this one ended up being very good. I quite liked it. It's definitely hit exceeds expectations. It flipped back and forth between the present and the past quite a bit. And sometimes I felt like it lost some of the momentum because I'd be really interested in one of the storylines and then it would just swap to the next one. Other than that, it was pretty good. So you know me, I have a lot of fun experimenting in the kitchen. So this how-to cookbook for teens is all kinds of recipes, and it starts off like very, very simple and then kind of increases from there. There's also some like individual meals you can make if you don't want to make a meal for the family. And it has like a very good basics for how to cook. So this one definitely hit exceeds expectations. So by book or by Crook, this is a cozy mystery that there's a rotating collection of original Jane Austens that came to the Lighthouse Library. And then someone ends up dead. The Austens are going missing left and right. And it's up to our main character to figure out who did it. It went a little bit between acceptable and exceeds expectations. Acceptable because like it did follow the cozy mystery formula. And as much as I love cozy mysteries, like it just gets to a point where you're like, it's too formulaic. However, I do love the Austen aspect of it. That really made it pop for me. And I love the idea of a lighthouse library. So it's going and exceeds expectations. So The Dane Traveler. This one was a little bit unusual, and it wasn't quite what I expected. I don't quite know what I expected either. She's very famous on Instagram. What she does is she encourages women to travel the world and take pictures of themselves. And I think she just kind of like what she does is repost it and shows it from there. So this whole book was just gorgeous image after gorgeous image, and then like a short paragraph by whoever did. Oh, hi, bug. And I don't know, it's just, I was expecting more from the actual author because it sounded like she did a lot of traveling herself, but it was just like random people posting about what they found beautiful, which was alright for like Instagram, but I'm not sure if it really worked in a book format. I would have loved to have more of like a storyline behind it, or even more just sections from the actual author talking about her experience and talking about what it's like to travel as a woman. There was a little section at the beginning, but it was mostly just kind of like a lot of warnings and like what not to do and what to always do when you're alone in a foreign country, which really kind of put me off of traveling. So I was like, oh gosh, okay. I'd have to be really careful for this one. So I'm gonna put it down as acceptable. Like the images were gorgeous. They were beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But as far as like an actual book and like the content of the book, I felt like it was just a little bit empty, perhaps is the right word. I don't know, because I did like looking at it, but it didn't feel like a book to me. So next one we have is, as you can see, I have 4 books here. I started this series, A Natural History of Dragons, and then all of a sudden my library had all of the audiobooks available, and I was like, okay, I'll bite. So I picked up all of these audiobooks and I read them all over March, and it was like just shotgunning these books. So the concept is Jane Goodall, but with dragons. So we have Our Lady Trent, and she's writing her memoirs, and back in the day she was a very scandalous lady. Hi bug, you doing good? Tropic of Serpents. This one I half read like the text physical, and then I picked up the audiobook to finish it, and I think it was alright. I had some issues keeping track. So there's a lot of like places and names that the author makes up, and I have a bit of a difficulty following those. However, if I listen to an audiobook, then I can follow it quite easily. So this one, because of my enjoyment level, I put it down as acceptable. Basilisk one is the one where I read the entire thing as an audiobook. So this one exceeded expectations. She decides to take a trip on a boat, and she starts to figure out what kind of dragons are there. So this one also exceeded expectations. The story really began to get steam, and then halfway through, the 5th and final one blew my mind. It was such a good series. Like that ending, wild. So next what we have is Beneath Cruel Fathoms. This one is a mermaid book. It was so good. So this one follows a merman and a human woman. The human woman found out she's infertile, and her husband pretty much breaks off with her for that. The merman is the son of the sea queen, but not the sea king, and he is the guardian of the oceans, and there's something happening in the oceans. He doesn't know what it is, but he knows that something is going wrong and he has to fix it. The two of them team up, and it's so incredibly well written. It hits outstanding. I could not put it down. And this is the first book of the series. I cannot wait till the author makes the second book, because this is going to be stunning. So don't check out this book. There's a new librarian coming to town. The school council doesn't want her there. The kids love her. No, please no. It's one of those stories told through other things, emails, letters, newspaper articles, and it ends up being like a really cute story that you piece together. And I want to almost like read it again because it was so much fun. Definitely it hits at that outstanding level. So this is the second book from the Chronicles of the Virago. Follows McKenna. She's the chosen one with a magic skateboard, and she has to protect her 2 twin siblings from all kinds of evil people. This one surprised me. The first book, it was alright. It was pretty good. The second book was stronger. And I believe that's just the author was really coming into the characters, getting used to the feel for the story flow. I like the sense of humor scattered in. My favorite character is the worm. Definitely exceeds expectation. Alright, so next we have Kenny and the Dragon. A rabbit named Kenny and a dragon who loves Shakespeare. Dragon's a good guy, and Kenny has to find a way to save him from this town. It didn't wow me. It wasn't like dreadful. It just kind of was like, eh. It's a very, very short book, and the audiobook was pretty well done. It just didn't hit me right. My Lovely Wife. This one was a wild ride from start to finish. Like, some couples like tennis, some couples go to the movies. This couple murders people, like straight up murders people. About a quarter of the way through the book, one of them realizes that the other one is planning something. So this one definitely, it was outstanding for most of the book. But like the ending dipped down and exceeds expectations, which was a bit of a surprise for me. I think it's just because like the ending was like wrapped up so quickly, and all the legality things I was just kind of like, I'm not sure if it works like that, but you wrote the book, not me. So like, because it spent most of the time in outstanding, I'm gonna put in outstanding. Oh no, it's coming. I love you. Ah! We have Ellie Kempers Autobiography. It feels like everyone from The Office has written a book at this point. So I've been on a kick where I've been reading their books. I don't know, like it didn't hit me right. It wasn't like anything overtly wrong with it. I just kept expecting more from it, and more wasn't delivered. Her story was very much, she went to college, this worked, that worked, she got married, and there's some humor inserted throughout, but it wasn't like there's much of a struggle. And I feel like if she would have waited and had a little bit more perspective on life, it would have worked really well, but I think I put it poor because like I was not really enjoying the experience of reading it. First of all, I'm not pregnant. However, I am curious about what happens. There's a lot of things that, 8th grade health class just completely left. A lot of horrifying things. So Essential Pregnancy Q&A is literally just a list of questions and answers, and it's organized slightly by trimester. For the most part, this felt like a pretty well-written book. It went into detail. I think the issue is, I feel like it sometimes had an assumption of knowledge where you'd know these terms and you'd know these events that happen to a woman's body, etc., etc. So like, it was alright. So The Never Tilting World. This is by Bryn. I'm a huge fan of hers. The premise of this one is that there are two twin goddesses. Roughly 17 years ago, the world broke. And like it stopped turning. We have the next generation of twin goddesses, but they don't know that the other twin exists. They're trying to figure out how to fix the world. I've noticed that Chupeco's stories have a lot of world building, like so much world building, and it's a bit daunting to get into. I was lost for quite a bit of the beginning as I was trying to piece together what this world was like, but then once I started putting together all the pieces, it bumped up right away to exceed expectations because I do love the way she crafts a story. And the ending, outstanding. Definitely outstanding, the ending. But because it had so much time and exceeds expectations, and because it had the acceptable beginning, I'm going to keep it here as like the final ranking. The Queen's Rising. Oh, okay, so this was a book that I literally started a year ago. Maybe it was even 2 years ago. I finally went ahead and I finished it. It turns out picking it up with about a 12-month interlude doesn't really help you enjoy a book. Yeah, I'm just gonna throw it down there. Like, the concept is that you spend 7 years learning your passion, and then you find a family to adopt you at the ripe old age of 16, 18, something like that. There's a lot of conspiracy, there's a lot of back and forth. Everyone is talking about their passion for this and their passion for that. It felt very cringy. Alright, so then the last one we have is The Other People. Like, I'm gonna tell you right away, but it like blew me out of the water. Like, I was like stunned. One day, a father is going home from work. He notices that the car in front of him has his daughter in it. And it's not his wife's car. And when he gets home from work, his wife is dead and his daughter is dead. His only clue is that the other people were involved. And it was like, it's one of those books that has like so many moving parts that you're just like, how is this fitting together? And then at the end when it fits together, you're like, ah! But like, it was so good. So, that's it. That's my March in books.